Hey everyone, Kylie here and welcome to my plan with me for January 2024. So happy new year. If you haven't already watched my outline and setup for 2024 video that I released yesterday, that outlines the plan and themes for setting up my bullet journal this year. So please head over and check that out after this one. My theme for January is potted plants, ferns and flowers, with a secondary theme of art and painting, which you'll see in some of the weekly layouts. Also, as you can tell here, or you might be able to tell here, this month is a pop-up title page. It's a bit like a greenhouse, but not entirely. Interestingly, once I had all of these drawn and had them all cut out and set them on the page, I realised that I liked them just in outline and decided that I wasn't going to paint them, which is an absolute first for me. So you'll see how all of this comes together at the end, as usual for a pop-up. And if you haven't seen a pop-up before, basically they create a bit of bulk in the journal. So I keep them until I've finished the drawing process so they don't disrupt the drawing for the rest of the pages. It's about the 11-minute, 15 seconds mark that I start putting all of that together. So I hope you've all had a really nice December and that 2024 gives you everything that you're wishing for, all the opportunities and experiences. Personally, I've planned a massive year of making, which is aligned to my focus for the year, which is make, and the reason why the list of projects I've set myself is quite large. I'm feeling quite positive for the year ahead, even though on paper the workload looks a little daunting. Having said that, I've already made some significant work on one of the new courses I'm pulling together. So that's helping my feelings of, hey, I've got this. But, let's see how long that lasts. And the thing is, I've ended 2023 feeling pretty positive about the year as a whole. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of crap in there on many levels for me, for some important people in my life, and for the world in general. But when I reflect on where I am at the end of it, there's a lot for me to be grateful for and a lot for me to look forward to this year, which I hope that you can say the same. Let's all hope that 2024 is a positive year. Now, I'm making a minor change to my month in focus page, and that is adding a section to note the makes that I want to do for the month, and I'll also capture what I did as well. I thought of just including them under focus, but then I really feel like it's going to get intermingled with client work and probably a little lost as all of that picks up in the year. For the quotes this year, I'm using words from the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows by John Koenig, which I got for Christmas. It's a gorgeous book that is a lovely way of realising all of those things that make us human and the fact that we have a lot more in common than we often tend to acknowledge. I'm not really sure how I'm only going to choose 12 words for the year, but maybe I'll use some of them as part of digital art practice instead. The plan is to include the word and its definition, and maybe a brief explanation of what that means. The book has much longer explanations, particularly for some words, so I'm going to use words and images to capture that intent in my journal. The first word I chose is klexos, meaning the art of dwelling on the past. Yeah, getting that little word wrong is probably something my psych would have a field day with. It comes from klexography, the art of making ink blots. So the idea is going back and examining the past will make it look different and increase our understanding of it. I'm really happy with how this first one came out, so much so that I'm not really beating myself up for getting in and on mixed up. Not really. The interesting thing with drawing up the weekly layouts for this month was that I didn't feel the need to pencil them out, since I'd spent the last couple of days coming up with ideas and capturing concepts in my sketchbook. So it did make the actual process of bullet journaling a bit quicker, which might be another added benefit of introducing the supporting sketchbook and planning process this year. I did decide to put some colour into all of these images. Of course I did. I did consider keeping it all as a purely black and white layout because of the title page, but I know that I'd end up colouring the images in as I was using the journal, and part of this is my art practice, which means that watercolouring, blending colours, improving my brush control is all part of the practice of creating my bullet journal. So I had to paint them. I had to colour them in. Plus, I love the colours and I love playing with them and then seeing them in the journal throughout the month. It had to have colour. Now, you might notice here that I've created this little template for myself, and that's to help me draw up these pages. It's a very simple idea, but since I decided to keep the same layout I've been using for the last couple of months, I thought it would make drawing this up a little faster again. This is part of the intention of this year, to make more systems to improve the ease of doing my work. It's a little thing, but not having to get the ruler out to draw up these pages is actually a really nice little change. It's also got me thinking about whether there are other little templates I could create for my work. So watch this space, who knows what will come up. And this is a really big part of what I'm trying to do this year, and possibly something I'm going to be sharing more of as well. I've gotten out of the habit of really thinking about systems and picking them apart, and I got to do some of that for a client last year, and I really enjoyed it and realised how much I wasn't doing it for myself. Because it was always a major part of the jobs that I held in government, to do process and system work. And I think that because my freelance business is just me, I tend to forget that I can make my own life more efficient and easier if I put time into my own systems. And then, well, if I create something that works well for me, maybe I should share it so that other freelancers or small organisations might also benefit from it, or maybe even bigger ones. So while it's not the main intention of making systems that I have a focus on for the year, I think that maybe it's a little bit baked into the idea of refining my work, is doing the sharing. So there might be a few more explainers I develop to assist with some of these ideas. There's definitely going to be templates and checklists and those sorts of things. So if you're someone who works for yourself or a very small group, sign up to my newsletter at kyliedunn.com to see these when they come through during the year. You'll also get access to creative templates, printables, and other training materials. It's all a bit eclectic, but really that's me all over. You'll see in here lots of different pots with lots of different types of plants. It was quite fun going through and exploring all the different types of leaves that I might incorporate into the drawings. Some of them I've drawn a number of times before, but others are new to me. And this is something that I wanted to make sure that I explore with the themed year of bullet journaling, because I did this in 2021. In 2021, I fully themed out the idea and really got stuck into all the different things that I might include and how else I might draw different ideas and what I might put in there. And I did really enjoy that for the year. And then, work picks up and I forget the things that were actually really powerful and impactful in my art process. And this year, thankfully, I've remembered. So I've planned it all in and I've sort of got it working for me, which is nice. So yeah, the idea is exploring lots of different objects that might be part of that theme and maybe drawing things in different ways to my usual style as well. Who knows what it's going to look like or what's going to actually happen. But I am really looking forward to having another structured year in my bullet journal. Last year I felt a bit out of whack a few times and quite discombobulated by not really having enough time to think about what I might put in. And I always came up with something I was happy with because I have the pattern making that I do as part of my my self-care and my art practice. It's a little bit of mindfulness as well as being art practice. But having said that, I wanted this year to be back into a little bit more of developing and honing my skills. After I did my desktop calendar in 2023 for 2024, getting really into drawing each of those themes and pulling together a small collection of things and making it cohesive in all of its colour and all of those sorts of bits and pieces, it was really enjoyable, and I'm hoping to pull some of that feeling and that enjoyment back into my bullet journal, which I'm hoping also makes it more enjoyable for you to watch me draw and pull together, and also gives you some ideas of things that you might do if you're inclined to create this sort of work or do this sort of process for yourself, having themes I think is actually really quite helpful as part of art practice in this whole process too. So we're back to the pop-up page. You'll see here there's a little riser down the bottom to bring up a couple of the large pots and have them stand out. This did end up taking a bit of fiddling, we'll talk about in a second. The other one that I've stuck in there is actually a floating plane which will have shelves, a shelf of flowers. This is a really simple mechanism. It looks complex and it looks really nice, but the three folded pieces that make the mechanism are all the same. They're actually folded together and then cut into three. So it's a really simple and effective way of creating that sort of floating plane in there that pops up. But yeah, these large pots, I had the leaves just a little bit too broad and it kept sort of hitting and bending the wrong way. But yeah, the other pots that I put around, I just stuck on the page. But I think it's more effective if I've got some things on there that aren't drawn onto the page, like that are in the pop-up. I think it was more effective to have those things as those separate items as well. Plus it meant they're on the same paper and so it's on the same colour and it just looks like it all sort of matches a little bit better. There's that shelf of flowers for the floating plane. And then the last thing is the two hanging plants, which I did consider another mechanism, but I decided to just stick them to the page. So here is my bullet journal for January 24. You'll notice that I did get the mood tracker drawn up after the pop-up. So I hope you all have a great start to 2024 and that you join me at the end of the month for drawing up February. And as always, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Bye.